Alright, now we are finally ready to get back onto this job. I've started and stopped this job a couple of times. This needs a set of knives. We don't have enough hard surface left on these knives to go throughout this cutting here. That is the hard surface right there. And once you let it wear down to about where my fingernail is, it's just about spent. You lose a lot of capacity, and I don't want to be changing these halfway through third cutting. So we'll get these all off. We'll have to run a wire wheel over the knife bed, and then we've got to run a wire wheel over the top of the keeper or the holder itself. And I think I'm going to replace this shear bar. We're going to get a good look at that, and we're going to see what kind of shape that's in. We might run it another set of knives, but that there is the expensive one, and we do have another one in that pallet there, a new one, but we might wait and put that in for corn. This one does seem to be in decent shape. So let's get the rest of the knives off of this, get things cleaned up, and then we can get it back together. We've also got a set of blower paddles that I want to put in, and we've got some bolts missing here on this plate. So let's get after it. Well, we're into the next day now, and we have everything prepped to be able to start installing the knives. We removed everything. Jacob went through and he wire wheeled the backing plate for the knife itself. We've got one section on, or one row on rather. There's 10 rows of knives, 40 knives altogether. Now on this chopper, to get the knife placed correctly on the knife drum, they send this little tool along, and what that does is it sets in on top of, you seen me do that here last night, it sets on top of the shear bar. You run the foot up against the front of the shear bar, and then you have just the tip of this guy here has to touch the drum right here. So you do both sides, and that gets the shear bar at the correct distance from the drum. Now there's 124.5 millimeters on this side, 121.5 millimeters on this side, on this other side. And then there's another one, I think it's like 117 millimeters or something like that. And the reason why there's different measurements or different lengths to this tool is for when you put knives in that have been in previously. If you've got some of the hardness wore off of the knife, then you can't and shouldn't put the knife all the way out to where it's bolted on this back side. This surface area here is the hardened material, and once you get past that soft material, they wear out too quickly. So we're going to put this at the maximum distance from the knife drum to the front of the shear bar. What we did is we used the chopper to rotate the shear bar forward, and it is a way that you can do it and get away with it, and I've been able to get away with it a couple of different times now. However, if it does not work, or if it goes too far, you can actually have it out. Well, you can actually have it go too far, and then it's not at the measurement that you need it to be at, and you have to remove. There's 3 little M6 bolts on the back side of this shear bar adjusting motor. When this adjusts the motor out, or the shear bar out, both motors turn at the same revolution. It'll turn the same amount of revolutions, so it's going to get it even from the drum, but you still need to check it. This one's not bad to take off. However, that one on the right hand side is a bit of a mongrel. So there's 2 different ways you can move this shear bar. The first way, having a chopper do it, sometimes can't be all that accurate. It'll only run it so far, and then it'll time out. Once it gets close, you have to run it, guesstimate the time, then shut the chopper off or cancel the display out, and it causes you to have to go back and forth. Another way you can do it, you can get the wire harness plug from John Deere, and you can use the motors and do them individually to get this to adjust so that you have the proper measurement from on this tool. But so far we've been able to luck out, or we have to move. I have had one time where this one was out too far. It wasn't the same as the other side, and we just took this side off and matched the other side. So we've got everything cleaned up. The other thing that we had to do too is we had to drop the spiral band down, pull our shims out, because we're going to be adding knives that have a longer surface area to them. It's going to hit that floor. The other thing that we have to remember to do, we have to take the sharpening stone, which is over on this side. We have to move that over to this area, raise it up so that it will clear the knife. This cover plate here only had 1 bolt in it, so we've got to retap this hole here. We might have to cut that nut bar off and get a new nut bar on there, but we've got to tap that out. I'll do that after I get the knives on. So somewhat boring work here. We'll show you what the process looks like. Maybe I'll put, after I get all of them on, or most of them on, I'll show you how 1 row goes on. Then we have to torque them, and then what we'll do is we have to put new blower paddles in it too. And I've shown this work every time I've done it, and I know it gets repetitive. Some of you haven't seen it done before, and for a majority of you, maybe you don't want to see it at all. So just drop a comment down below whether you want to see this repetitive stuff done over and over and over again. Yeah, let me know. All right. Alright, so we've got all these installed. They're all adjusted to the shear bar. Now we just got to go through and torque all of these bolts. And then once we get that torqued, we move the sharpening stone and so on and so forth. Alright, now we are going to start ripping these old blower paddles out. So we got to pull that panel off there, and then that'll allow us to get into the blower housing. So we'll go ahead and get that apart, show you what that looks like, and then we'll take a peek at this blower itself. Now I could see from down there that this is black right here, so it must have a pretty good wore out something or other to have that burn through right there. Let's burn through right there too. Alright, let's go ahead and get this out. Alright, so we've got the panels removed, and now we're going to go ahead and remove all these paddles, and then we've got to scrape out the front of this blower housing so that when we put the new paddles in there, we can actually roll these around. So we'll go ahead and start ripping this rest of this stuff here apart, and yeah, we gotta do some cleanup and do some scraping as well. Alright, so we have all the blower paddles on except one, and then we've got our new blower panel in there as well. And then if you could see that panel, or that wear plate on the left side, we've got a bolt out of it and it's real thin. This one on the right hand side is thin as well, so we're going to have to replace those. We'll show you what the old paddles looked like, and we'll show you what the blower panel itself looks like. Here is a new paddle, and then here is an old one. You can see that we're wore. Right on this side here, you can't really adjust them. And then this panel is wore extensively on the outsides. It's all dished down in. And outside of maybe grinding the paddles down, but the panel is wore kind of weird like. It got hot. It got to the point where it got hot and it ended up burning the paint off in this section here. That could have been from it getting wide and then having material get between the blower paddle and the panel and just causing it to work hard. The other thing that would take that paint off is having a paddle too close. But that's where we're at here now, so we've got to get this other paddle in there, and then what we'll do is we'll go through all of these paddles. There's 10 of them. Is there 10 or is there 12? 10 of them. We've got to torque the bolts down for the paddles. I don't know if I'll have them wear plates in time. I do have a plow bolt that's missing off that one. We'll have to get that in there and get everything torqued up, and then we can roll this out of the shop. We did get some rain here this afternoon, and I don't know if it's going to allow us to be able to chop here first thing tomorrow. So yeah, so we'll join you guys here in the morning. so we have all of these paddles torqued. Our side wear panels, this left one and the right one's a little thin. Kaz or Side and Stricker, they didn't have them in stock, so we're going to just get this panel on here. It did rain here. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get going all that early, but we're going to get this panel on here. We're going to finish the rest of the work here. We have to run a sharpening cycle across the knives just to kind of true them up a little bit, and then set the shear bar. So we'll go ahead and pull this grass chute back in place. There was a scraper piece down in there, that piece right there that's bolted to the front of the blower at the bottom, that was a little bent up. We took that out, straightened it, bolted it back in. Our scraper up top here is in good shape. So we'll go ahead and get this panel on and go through a knife sharpening process, and then we need to bring that hay head in and replace a drive chain or two on it. right, we've got this all set and ready to go. We do need to run it quick, make sure we don't have anything rubbing, and I need to run a pass with a sharpening stone across the knives and then set the shear bar. So we'll show you what these blower paddles look like, the ones that came out. I should have matched a new one up against these old ones, but you could see that we're wore on the outside of the paddle itself, and these have a hard surface on them. You can't really, there's a slot to be able to adjust them, but with the way they wear against the panel, you really can't adjust them up enough to get them to work correctly. Once they fall out of whack, you replace the blower panel and you replace the paddles. Now you can see this is dished down. This is wear. This dimple in this panel here is all wear. This is a standard panel. We did put a Duraliner panel in. We'll see how that works. We usually get a year. That's all we get out of a set of blower paddles and this panel. Now I know I'm gonna get some comments about, you know, if I had a different kind of a machine here, we wouldn't be doing this work as often as we are. Well, it's kind of a moron comment from somebody that just does not understand. It has nothing to do with what brand machine that we use. This is a wear item, and I'll leave it at that. If you comment about having a different brand machine and this not wearing out as much as it does on a deer, then you clearly don't really understand what you're talking about, and you will not ever be able to grasp what's actually going on here. So let's go ahead, jump up in the machine. We want to run it, make sure nothing hits, and then we'll go through a sharpening process. And then what we need to do is we need to bring the hay head down. We've got a drive chain put on the hay head. We'll go ahead and engage the cutter head. Dry stuff in the pulley and the belt is whacking on it or something. And we ran it wide open and did not make any noises there. So we'll let this calm down, or quiet, shut down, and then what we'll do is we'll run through a sharpening process here. It won't let me do anything until that is at 0. We don't need to go. We'll do 15 passes. 9 cleanups. That'll engage the cutter head in reverse. Spinning that in reverse. Now that knife stone is sweeping across the knives, and we tried to get them knives as perfect as we could to the shear bar. However, there'll be one or two that are a little higher than the others, and we just have to get that to more or less true itself. So we'll let that run, and then we'll set the shear bar. right, so here is what we're gonna start with first here. We're right in front of the parlor, and the reason why we're chopping right here, we do this like halfway through our cutting schedule, is because they're going to do some excavating here, so that's why we're chopping it. We are at 71% moisture, so we're a little on the green side. Got a little rain here yesterday, so it's a little on the green side. So I guess that is just about gonna do it for this one anyway. All right, well, we'll catch you guys at the next one.
Going down the lower bunk where Jared's Moss was parked?
Yeah.
Okay.